University, and master degree in political science, University Cairo also, and PhD in international relations from University of Pennsylvania. Let's move on to my first slide. It is what we call the book. What consists of in the book? There are 3 chapters. The first one, historical roots of the crisis, and the second, traditional methodology of Islamic thought, and chapter 3, principle and methodology of Islamic thought. 4, Islamic civilizational sciences. Number 5, Islamic and social sciences, and the 6, Islam and the futures. I would like to also remind again, maybe throughout this presentation, I might not explain in depth or critical, since I'm still learning on that. If you all have any suggestions during the explanations, you might interrupt me or give any suggestion on that. All right, let's move on to the first chapter about the historical roots of the crisis. It is clearly stated in the book. Professor Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman wrote this book after his long contemplations, his learning throughout the history, especially he was nurtured in the Mecca, where the source of Islam, we could say that really almost pure, almost authentic, we could find on Mecca compared to other regions, also the country. And one of the also what Professor Abdul Hamid said, the inclinations of the Ummah, the crisis, was what we call, there are several factors. One of them, loss of identity, the failure of the institutions. And supposedly, after his reading and also the discussion throughout scholars, he come to an end, what we call the conclusions of that. This Cambodia student. From the side. All right. Okay, let me repeat one of the from the first chapter. We will discuss about the crisis in the Muslim mind, that written by Professor Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman. He was one of our former rector and also one of the former chairman International Institute of Islamic Thought, or IIIT. In this book, Professor Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman wrote all the book based on his experience and also in-depth research and contemplations. What happened currently in the Ummah, or we call in the nation, especially in this context, the nation or the Ummah that we would like to discuss is the Islam. The inclination of the Ummah, the factors of that mentioned in the book. One of the factors is the loss of identity. The second is the failure of the institution. And after the contemplation and also the study throughout the history, Professor Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman suggests that the change is needed in this Ummah to encounter the Western civilizations. Because if we try to observe what happened in the Muslim era, especially in the youth, the influence of Western is more what we call affected than the Islamic culture. And this tragedy, or we call the phenomena, has been happening around 2 years ago. And that's why the Ummah or the Ummah Islamiyah suffer with the what we call as the inclination that happened after the period of Khilafah. So another factor that stated also, it was due to the fail of the leadership of the Ummah, because the leadership of the Ummah has been unable to determine the proper approach for bring about the change needed to the Ummah. If we read the history of the Islam, even in the Golden Age, not all the leadership successfully bring or lead the Ummah to the what we call to the term of Rasulullah SAW, or to the Prophet Muhammad, to the term of Prophet Muhammad SAW companions, or the four Khalifah. So as we state here, as I state, in order to deal with this Ummah, Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman suggests that we need to we should understand what the causes of this Ummah, what the causes of inclinations. We cannot simply say that, oh, because the Ummah, because of the what we call the development of the human being, so the Islam Ummah, the Ummah Islamiyah affected also. It's not simply as that. So supposedly, as the scholars, as the students, the background of the Islamic background that we have, we should analyze from the root and also the principle first. So the problem of this Ummah, again, demand the understanding, study, and also the analysis, not only day by day, but should be comprehensively and structurally analyzed not only by all the scholars, but also the student also. And there are three starting points to dealing with the crisis of the Ummah. The first one that stated also, the imitative foreign solution, or commonly known as the foreign solution, as we embrace or imitate what the foreign, what the Western, contemporary Western did to his nation by what we call from his experience, like the secular, materialist, and so on. And the second one, the imitative historical solution, meaning that we refer back what happened to the Golden Age, what happened to the Khilafah Islamiyah, to the past of the Islamic leadership. And the third one, the contemporary Islamic Asalah solution. I will explain one by one, inshallah. So the first one, the foreign solution. Professor Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman is not really was not suggest to this ummah to embrace or to imitate what the contemporary Western used to restructure, to solve their issues in their nation. What we call the background of these rejections. The first one is the principle of the Western and the Islam is totally different. In Islam, our principles stick on the principle of Islam from the Quran, from the Sunnah, from Ijma, and so on. But from the Western principle, it's from the Akal, from their al-Hawa, and so on. So it's totally different and cannot be applied to the Islamic worldview and to the Islamic world. And for the historical solution, some is good and some might not be good. Why I could say that? If we read the story and the history of the Islam, the Golden Age, and also the past history, it might be the best on that time. But when we bring the solutions from the past to the current, to the contemporary era, some of the solutions might not efficiently apply to our era. So, as Professor Abdul Hamid said, it should be renowned and also should be renewed some of the solution from the past, what we call leadership to our current era. And we don't totally reject that, but we should analyze what might apply to our era and what might not be applied to our era. And that's why the effective method of promoting the solution would be lie bare out to discuss the weaknesses of the faulty approaches by explaining why they are unsound and then presenting the correct solution and the reason why it should be adopted. And this is the suggestions that given by Professor Abdul Sulaiman. Once we bring the approach to solve the issues among this ummah, we should discuss, we should accept what is the weaknesses among this ummah. We shouldn't be ashamed that, oh, this is our weaknesses in terms of some side. Once we accept the mistake, or what we call the weaknesses that happen in this current ummah, it might be easy to solve any issues that happen to this ummah, inshallah. And before that also, before we what we call apply to one of the approach, there are a prerequisite. The first one, we should know that the correct specifications of the approach, because all the approach to solve the issues in the ummah, as I said, even though it is from the golden age, or even though it was successfully applied to the past ummah, it's not really applicable to this ummah. So we need to know the specification, also the structure, that how the previous khilafah, how the previous umara managed their ummah during that time. And the second one, as the one who will be the part of the what we call resolver of this ummah, we should persistent, or I could say the persistent faith in one of the approach. Because once the da'i, or one of the al-mujaddid, or the renowned scholars don't believe what the approach, or I could say that it's kind of doubt about the approach, that will not be successfully throughout the progress. And the third one, resolve to do all that is necessary for the attainment of its goal also. And last but not least, provisions of all the practical means it is required to ensure it successfully. So I could also give a mention for this. Actually, this is not stated in the book, but from what I understand also, actually one of the big factors, the inclination of this ummah, is the akhlaq, the morals that happen that happen around the ummah currently. And we could see obviously in the yesterday. One of the proverbs that I remember said about the inclination of this ummah. وَإِنَّمَا الْأُمَمُ أَخْلَاقُ مَا بَقِيَتْ فَإِنْهُمُ ذَهَبَتْ أَخْلَاقُهُمْ ذَهَبُ. This ummah or these nations are only as long as they have the moral remains. But if their morals lost, if their moral are lost, they are lost. The moral of the Islam, or the Islam akhlaq al-Islamiyah, is the true identity of this ummah. Once we forget about what Rasulullah SAW teach us during that time, to be a good Muslim, to be the authentic Muslim, part of day by day, we might not be a real Muslim, or kind of resemble to non-Muslim. And in the second chapter, Professor Abdul Hamid Abdul Sulaiman also stated about the traditional methodology of Islamic thought that might be applied to the current era. The first one we should learn, or we should know about al-usul. The usul here, especially if you all learn about the Islamic methodology or Islamic knowledge, al-usul is the most factor or the basic factor to get to know about the Islam. So the usul mean here is the principle upon which this science and methodology are based, and this usul might be classified into two types. The first one, the primary, and also the secondary. As the primary, as I said, the principle of Islam, we always refer to the Quran, to the Sunnah, to the ijma, or the consensus, and last but not least is in qiyas. And the secondary sources was the studies dealing with the sources of evidence on which the scholars differ as to how and under what condition they are to be applied. Or in Arabic said, al-adilah al-mukhtalifa fiha. Another said, another sources, istihsan, or reasonable analogy. And again, al-masali al-mursalah, the wider interest of the community. And we also know about the sadd al-dara'i, the obstructions of ostensibly legitimate means to illegitimate ends. One of the sadd al-dara'i application that might be popular among us is about the datings before engage, for example. Maybe it's quite about this topic, but become our insight lah. Why what we call the dating before marriage, before engage is haram in Islam? In usul fiqh, we know that is one part of the sadd al-dara'i. As Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says in the Quran, wala taqrabuz zina. Zina is haram. But Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala emphasize again, do not come close to the zina, which means dating or engage and so on. Because that lead to a big sins that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala forbid about that. So another, again, there is also al-urf, the source of Islamic that usually used by the scholars. It is about the custom and legal usage. And we can also refer to what Sahaba said. And last but not least is the practice of the people of Medina. And again, what in the discussion usually appear in if we come to the sum of the discussion, usually there is a question that commonly appear about who is to blame and who should be blamed for the present situations or the current situation in Ummah. Should we blame the scholars or the da'i, the tuan guru, and so on? Supposedly, this question shouldn't be asked for the era, because we know it is the sunnatullah. First of all, I could say that, and also one of the books that similar with that. But the primary question that should be asked: what is the proper framework for coming to an understanding or to deal with this issue? Right? There's a difference between the first question and also the second question. If the first question, we might ask maybe to presenter or to the forum, who should we blame for the current situation, and to the situation that affect to the ummah, especially to the youth. And the proper question that should be asked actually to solve this current issues, what is the proper framework for to deal with the situation? So in order to answer these questions, we should follow some suggestion that also suggested by Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman. The first one, we should understand our past history, our past generation, what the benefit that we can learn from their story, from their history, and from their legacy. In Indonesia, we have it's like proverb and also popular word said by our first president Soekarno, jas merah, jangan sekali-kali melupakan sejarah. Or in English we say that do not forget your history, because your history is your identity. Your history usually consists of your principle. Once you lost history, once you lost your story about what happened from the past, you might fall to the same hole in the second times. And we must also understand what happened to us, to the nation and communities. This is one of the issues that currently appear also in the Ummah. Once the nation, when the Ummah, they only care about themselves, not to the others. Some of the society might say that it is better to secure myself than others. What the benefits can I get if I secure others? Or in Islam we know as the ananiyah. And this is also one of the issues that raised by the Professor that Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman. So to understand the principle of the Islam, there are some points that I note also in this book. The first one, we should know that this life has a purpose. So once we remember, or once we know that our creation is in this world is not vain, as Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala means in Surah Ad-Dariyat, wa ma khalaqtul jinna wal insa illa liya'budun, and I create you and create the creation of the human being is not vain, but to worship Him. And the second one, the eternal relation between everything in this universe beyond what the human mind is capable of comprehending. This relates to the Tauhid, what we call as the takdir. We know it's a good takdir and also the bad takdir. But in the end, we should believe that what Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala planned to us is the best thing to us. And the third one, the most important feature of the unseen world, which is of particular concern to man, is the existence of Allah. Also, it's again related to the Tawhid. And the number 4, resurrection of all souls in the hereafter will be the time of reckoning when man will be either rewarded or punished according to his deeds in this life. As scholars always said during Jumu'ah usually, al-jaza'u min jinsil amal. You will be rewarded or you will be punished depend on your deeds, depend on your behaviors. So that's why Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala al-adl. We know that during we learn the Tawhid. And another point said that this world is the place for positive action, to building and putting things in order. We as the Muslim knows that ad-dunya mazra'atul akhirah. The dunya is the field to what we call to harvest, to harvest the good things and the preparations for the hereafter. And Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala means we will spring from the omniscience of the Almighty and the acts by His command. Another point also, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala created this universe and subjected it to natural laws. By acting in accordance with these laws, deeds can be done, aims can be realized, and the human will can express its determination and direction. And last but not least, in the presence of sound human nature or the fitrah, faith in the oneness of Allah and the guidance of His wahyu, there cannot be room for contradictions in the Islamic outlook toward wahyu, reason, and the natural universe. And what Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, We should believe that is the good thing, and that is a hikmah. A hikmah sometimes cannot be comprehended by the al-aql, the humanity of what we call intelligence. And sometimes we only what we can only to accept what happened to this nature. And yeah, that's all in the chapter 3. That what I could learn, and also that I could that what I could share to you all. And this also relate to the what I said previously about the principle of the Islamic currently. And here in the chapter 4 later on, if you want to read in depth critically in the book, you will find out some of the, I could say, this interesting point that stated by Professor Abdulhamid Abu Sulaiman about the requirement for establishing the Islamic civilization sciences. First, by classifying the Islamic texts from renowned scholars or from the past scholars also, and also a comprehensive civilization outlook. As a Muslim, we should realize that we are not beginning from the scratch. On the contrary, Muslims have made valuable contribution to history of civilizations. If you refer back to the history of the Islam, many scholars, the prominent scholars, influenced the world not only by his idea, but by their creations, such as, for example, in medication or in medications, Ibn Sina, or the Western known as the efface. In the aviations, we have the Al-Abbas Ibn Firnas, and in economics, and so on and so forth. So we are actually the big ummah, the big nation that should be proud with our identity. But again, due to the inclinations, the loss of identity, and maybe the lackness of reading throughout the history, the fact might cover, and we might not know that we are the strongest and also one of the biggest ummah during that time. So this is also one of the missions that IIIT has undertaken, as I experienced here, by providing Muslim with the comprehensive studies about Western social sciences, the exchange of ideas about ideas of Muslim and civilizations. So that's why I could concur also. The IIIT is seeking to enable the Muslim mind to deal correctly with Western civilizations. And it is important for us to understand that Muslim must bring about the requisite civilizational and methodological changes in Islamic thought, and thus realize it from its particulars and theoretical confines, as well as from the effect of its long battle with the political leadership. And Muslim must also develop a sound and comprehensive methodology for their thought, so that they might reopen the door to ijtihad, to overcome the sort of mentality bred by taqlid. A taqlid meaning that you follow someone not because of the principle. Maybe you just follow them because you love them or because you're close to them. It's taqlid al-ama. In our we know in the akidah taqlid al-a'ma in tawhid usually happen in the if we relate to the tawhid, usually the children will follow the father's belief because of he is the father, because the father teach him, and he might not know is it true or false. He ignore that. And if Muslim cannot succeed in such undertakings, so the ummah current deplorable situation will not change. So moreover, the effort of contemporary Islamic movement and organizations will come to nothing, as happened with their predecessor. And last chapter is about the Islam and the future. It is essential that the attentions and the effort of Islamic workers, Islamic leaders, I could add that also Islamic student be directed toward three fundamental matters. The first one, by the future of the Ummah, meaning that by working with the Muslim youth today, Muslim youth has a big power to change, to what we call to return the golden age to the contemporary era. We shouldn't be doubt about the strongest, about the energy of the Muslim youth today. And the second one, the role of academic institution also in achieving Islamizations and clarifying the Islamic perspective toward knowledge, civilizations, and the preparation of new generation to carry the eternal message of Islam to all humankind. The third one, last but not least, guiding the future course of human civilization in fulfillment of the Ummah responsibility to correct the progress and also the thought of humankind. So the Islamic movement era in the in Malaysia that we observe from like Abim and overspread in Indonesia also is a good movement to reopen the others Muslim that our authentic identity that might lost day by day. Because why? I could say also a Muslim yesterday is the last barriers to defend, to protect the whole Islamic worldview, the Islam world. Once the Muslim youth forget or might ignore their identity, their energy of the Muslim, the Islam that what brings by our prophet and also the last generations, we might be under the what we call the Western civilizations, might be lower than that. So yeah, as the Muslim, especially as the youth, it is our duty and our responsibility to reopen, to create the awareness about what happened to this ummah. Maybe that's all. If you have any suggestion for this topic.
Thank you, Brother Izzuddin, for a very comprehensive summary of the book. We welcome our brothers who have joined us. I think we better introduce ourselves, very brief. Your name, where are you from, and what are you doing? Your major of university. I'm Brother Shahran. I'm not director of right. Yeah, buddy.
And from Canada as well.
So, with our director. Alhamdulillah, welcome again, all brothers. This is our occasional book series. We do it whenever we have speakers, whenever we have internship students. It happened that Brother Yudin is our intern for this time. We welcome all friends who want to do their internship to our office. One of the assignment is we give them a major book on summarization of knowledge, and present a summary of session. But there is today, if you have three minutes to explain the book among your friends, your peers in simple language, how can you do it?
All right. First of all, the crisis in the Muslim mind, it is the critical situation that written by Professor Abdul Hamid. His care to the Islamic worldview cannot be what we call it is his attention to this Muslim era, his what we call contributions to create the awareness among this ummah. The current ummah is not as good as expected, as good as we observe from our eyes. So by this book, we know that actually there is a problem that should be solved as soon as possible. Yeah.
Oh,
maybe
there's only 1 minute. Yeah, 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes. I could recommend this book to everyone that concerned about the Muslim situation, to know more what happened in this Muslim, because once we know the problems, once we know the problem, it is easy to us to contribute also. Our life as a Muslim, we should care about the development of Islam. We should it's kind of sacrifice ourselves to the Islam by the contributions, like analyzing the issues, and at least you talk about this one, about the crisis of the Islam. I remember of one of the hadith. I forgot the title, the narration of the hadith, but if among you do not care about the Islamic situations, you are not from us. No, if I'm not mistaken. So if you are still said that you are the ummah, Prophet Muhammad SAW, you should concern, you should care about what happened in the situations. By reading this book also, you might also know what happened currently in Palestine, what happened in some majority Muslim country, why they suffer with even though between the Muslim, even though within the Muslim, not external of Islam. So this book reveals all of that critically, and I might not cover throughout my last presentation. So yeah, I could really recommend you to read from cover to cover, and to read other resources, references that referred by Professor Abdul Hamid Al-Salim.
Okay, we open to our friends, our brothers, if you have any comment related to the book, not related to books, all open. If the student cannot answer it, Dato can help.
Yes.
Rohani is here, Shalwan is here. We have lunch after this, but we have another 10 minutes before we end. Brother? So any input or any suggestion? Don't have to be about the book.
And thanks for Brother Sudin for the presentation. Firstly, I have to admit that I'm not an expert in this area. I'm not very familiar with the word of God. But during your talk just now, I had a brief look at this book, and naturally, as someone from my background, I'm a physician, by the way, a scientist. So one topic or one subchapter that my interest is chapter 5.
Mm.
At the end of the chapter, there is a subchapter titled Standardization, Science and Technology. On page 140. Yes.
So on page 140, for example, the author states that standardization means correct direction, correct objectives, and correct philosophy.
Mm.
So this book, if I'm not mistaken, was written in 1993. So fast forward more than 30 years, so now 2025. I would argue that there is not much contribution that fits the definition of this author, at least in my area, mathematics. Of course, admittedly, some works may fit the author's definition of standardization. For example, I think some of us know Professor Emeritus Dr. Shahri Mazin.
Yeah.
He produced several works. He published. He proposed several mathematical models, which provide a new meaning of best model. So conventionally, scholars from mathematics from non-Muslim perspective would define best mathematical model as a model which maximize profit, for example. So anyway, one of Prof. Shahri's research expertise is optimization, which is a branch in mathematics. So he argued that from an Islamic point of view, the best model yang terbaik, is not necessarily the one that maximize profit. So he introduced a term called Gusto model. He even introduced the word Ustadization, if I pronounce correctly, Ustadization as Islamic alternative for optimization. So he proposed a number of works, a number of mathematical models, which, in his opinion, fits the definition of Islamization of knowledge. The models must not prioritize profit. It must also take into consideration the well-being of the poor, for example. So, but of course, these are just exceptions rather than rules. There's not much work which fit the definition of Prof. Abdul Sulaiman, Abdul Hamid Abdul Sulaiman. So I would say, if you ask me, who is Dr. Blaise? Myself included. So I'm not interested in pointing fingers to others. So we have a big challenge ahead, at least in my area. Science and technology, or more specifically in mathematics. So that's my brief view on this topic.
Thank you, Rahman. Anyone else? Or Dato'? Don't say a few words. Dato' is a close friend of Abdul Hamid Abdul Sulaiman. He worked with him for more than 15 years.
Thank you very much for the did a good work. This already fulfill your
Requirement.
requirement as intern student. He has done so many things in the office. I think this is a major thing. He reads and presented. The next one is to implement. Okay. Not only will benefit himself, and for all of you. Okay, what Muhammad was saying, the future of the Ummah. Okay? Education is very important. Systemization of knowledge. That's why we are here. We are in this university. There are not many universities in the world like this. Maybe in Malaysia we have a few. Muslim University, Islam Selangor, Indonesia, USAS, few others, but the national university is not really keen on Islamization. They will still be using the Western model. That's what has been mentioned by Muhammad. So it takes time, the process. So that was written about 20 years ago. So at that time, before that, Muhammad has been thinking about all this. That's why he and his friends initiated IIIT. Basically, IIIT with the study about the main task is on Islamization of knowledge. We have seen so many groups here. More than 600 titles was produced in the US, in Jordan, and a lot also in Malaysia, Indonesia, and other countries. So we hope we will benefit from this and try to implement in your country, especially Cambodia. Okay? There are minority Muslims there, but Alhamdulillah, the initiative of the brother from Cambodia is very good. Yesterday, Ustaz Farid was here. He is currently the president of university who initiated by the Muslim Cambodia. He started with international Islamic schools, and now we are also conducting courses for Nurul Iman on the 10th. The 10th is fine. The teaching approach in Islamic school in Cambodia. We have developed the curriculum, integrated curriculum for all the 20 religious schools in Cambodia. We had a workshop in Cambodia about 3 months ago. Continuation of that, we're going to have online program on the 10th. We would like to attend to listen, can listen. It's no problem. It is open. So this is what we're planning on this. Also, on the 30th of May, we will be conducting a workshop, the youth program. Inshallah, will be implementing for 100 students. Initially, Dr. Maulana would like to, Dr. Maulana is from Myanmar, would like to bring only the Myanmar students. But I was suggesting to him to bring some from Cambodia, some from Laos, some from Vietnam, from Thailand, from Indonesia, and ASEAN countries. If there are not many, we'll bring the leaders, the future leaders. We're all future leaders. So Secretary General will remind me to invite at least a few from Cambodia. I took them. Also for Indonesia, Brother Udin, to bring them. Not to enjoy the fullness of the beauty in Genting Highland, but to bring you away from the city. So, for the Sharan, we'll be conducting a camp for the youth. So all these are the initiative of what our father had said, our great father said. I was working with him for 10 years before in the university 10 years. But the Sharan maybe worked with him more than that. From the US until coming here. And after that, we continue to work with him. He would come here twice a year to meet all the lecturers here, make sure they produce something, the textbook. He will listen to what they have written. So this is the seriousness of the assignment until the end of some. So we hope all of you will to understand what those brothers do. Thank you very much for attending this important Majelis Ilmu. So
Thank you, Dato'. So today you have 3 minutes for concluding remarks. Anything to say before we close our lunch?
Today has been intimidated.
All right. The concern of the Islam is not only on Islamic discourse, on our Tuan Guru, on our professor, but also to the Muslim youth, especially for student. As the Muslim student, our background in Islam, it is our duty and also our also our work. As Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, we will be asked later on what have been what have been done and what have we did to this ummah. Because every us, kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi. Each of you is a leader. And all of you, because you are a leader, you should be asked later on. So give your best. As Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala always give what we call the help to everyone that show his effort to resolve the situation of this ummah. Because the situation is ummah, again, I could say that it's not on our scholars, it's not on our Dato and Guru Haji and so on. We start from the student. The student is the counter, is the shields of the ummah. Once you lost your identity, the Islam will incline gradually. So that's all from me.
Thank you. Congratulations for a job well done. Inshallah, for brothers who are coming here, we will keep you updated of our future program. We will have Prof. Auni will present his research update. We will announce the date later on, inshallah. We also have visiting scholars, visiting lecturers coming to our office. We have occasional talk and so on and so forth. So please join us again next time, inshallah. Thank you, Brother Zain, one more time. Thank you all, everyone. We close our session with Tasbih.